Welcome back to Navigating Abundant Retirement. I'm Carol Dewey, founder of Perpetual Wealth Financial. And as always, my mission is to help you navigate the financial seas so you can get on with living. Today, I want to talk about something I see all the time when working with widows. And honestly, it's something that rarely gets discussed. Many widows spend years trying to protect a financial plan that was never actually built for the life they're living now. Now, before anyone misunderstands me, this is not about criticizing your husband. It's not about suggesting he made bad decisions. It's not about saying the plan was wrong. In many cases, the plan may have been exactly right for the life you were living together. And here's the question. What happens when life changes? Because one of the most common things widows tell me is, I don't want to mess up what he put together. I understand that completely. That feeling comes from love, from loyalty, from respect, sometimes fear. But what I've learned over the years is this. Sometimes honoring what your husband built means adapting to the life you're living now. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Why so many widows stay frozen. One of the first things I notice when meeting a widow is how cautious she is about making changes. She'll tell me, I haven't touched anything. I left everything exactly the way it was. I didn't want to make a mistake. And honestly, that makes perfect sense. When someone you love handled many of the financial decisions, changing anything can feel risky, especially if you don't fully understand why the original decisions were made. It's easy to assume if I change something, I might break something. But often there's another layer underneath, a more emotional layer. Sometimes making changes feels disloyal. It feels like you're questioning their judgment or abandoning something they worked hard to build, or moving on too quickly. I've seen women leave accounts untouched for years because they were afraid that making a change somehow meant letting go of their spouse. But those are two very different things. Changing a financial plan is not the same thing as forgetting someone you love. The plan was built for two people. Let's think about this logically for a moment. Most retirement plans are built around assumptions. Assumptions about income, expenses, life expectancy, healthcare, taxes, goals, travel, family, lifestyle, and most importantly, how many people the plan is supporting. When your husband was alive, the plan was built around two lives, two people sharing expenses, two social security benefits, two health histories, two sets of goals, two perspectives, two futures. Then something changed. Life changed. Not because anyone wanted it to, not because anyone planned for it, but because that's what happened. And when life changes, the plan may need to change too. Not because the original plan was wrong, because the circumstances are different. A story I see over and over. I've worked with women who kept the same investments because that's what their husband chose. The same advisor because that's who he trusted. The same spending habits because that's what they always did. The same assumptions because changing them felt uncomfortable. Then we sit down and start asking questions. Questions nobody had asked before. What do you want? What are your goals? What matters most to you now? And sometimes there's a long pause because nobody has asked those questions in a very long time. One woman told me, I don't know. I've spent so many years thinking about us that I haven't thought much about me. And that answer broke my heart. And I suspect she's not alone. There are questions every widow should be asking. And if you're listening today, I want you to consider a few questions, not financial questions, life questions. What do you want the next 10 years to look like? Do you want to travel, stay close to family, volunteer more, downsize, remain where you are, help grandchildren, support a cause you care about? What brings you joy? What gives you peace? What feels important now? Notice none of those questions start with investments. That's intentional because financial planning should support your life. Your life shouldn't revolve around your financial plan. Yet many widows continue operating under goals that belong to a different chapter, a chapter that included 2 people. Now it's time to ask what this chapter looks like. Loyalty versus responsibility. This may be the most important part of today's conversation. Many widows feel caught between 2 emotions, loyalty and responsibility. They want to honor their husband, but they also know life has changed, and they aren't sure how to do both. Here's what I believe. Most husbands who love their wives would not want them living in fear. They would not want them avoiding necessary decisions because they were afraid of making changes. They would not want them spending years worrying about whether they had permission to adapt. In fact, I suspect most husbands would say, do what you need to do. Take care of yourself. Live your life. Be okay. That's not disloyal. That's responsible. There's a difference. And here's another area where I often see widows struggle, and that's with risk. Maybe your husband was comfortable with volatility. Maybe he enjoyed talking about markets. Maybe he was willing to tolerate larger swings in account values. But what if you aren't? What if seeing large fluctuations keeps you awake at night? What if your priorities are different? What if peace of mind matters more than maximizing returns? Those aren't wrong answers. They're your answers. And your financial plan should reflect your comfort level, not someone else's, even someone you love deeply. The same thing applies to spending. Many couples develop spending habits together, but widowhood changes routines. It changes priorities. It changes dreams. Some women spend less, some spend more. Some discover they finally want to travel. Others want greater simplicity. Neither approach is wrong. The point is that your financial plan should support the life you're actually living, not the life you used to live. Build your own financial confidence. One of the most beautiful transformations I witness is when a widow begins trusting herself again. At first, every decision feels overwhelming. Every choice feels permanent. Every change feels risky. Then slowly something shifts. She starts asking questions. She starts understanding her finances. She starts making small decisions, then larger ones. And eventually she realizes something powerful. She's capable, not because she suddenly became a financial expert, but because she learned she could make thoughtful decisions. She learned she could adapt. She learned she could move forward. That's confidence. And confidence changes everything. So what does honoring him really look like? As we begin wrapping up today's conversation, I want to leave you with a different perspective. Many widows believe honoring their husband means preserving everything exactly as it was. But what if honoring him means something deeper? What if honoring him means using the resources he helped build to create a meaningful life? What if honoring him means protecting yourself? What if honoring him means making wise decisions? What if honoring him means continuing to grow, continuing to live, continuing to experience joy? Because I don't believe love requires your life to stand still. I believe love allows you to carry someone with you while still moving forward. One of the most beautiful moments I witness is when a widow stops asking, what would he have done, and begins asking, what do I want my life to look like now? That's not forgetting him. That's not replacing him. That's not being disloyal. That's becoming the person he hoped you would be. The goal isn't to erase the past. The goal is to build a future that reflects your values, your priorities, your dreams, your life. Because while your husband's financial plan may have been exactly right for the life you shared together, your future deserves a plan that's built for you. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Navigating Abundant Retirement. If you found today's episode helpful, please subscribe and share it with someone who may need to hear it. And until next time, remember, you don't have to navigate the financial seas alone. I'm Carol Dewey, and I'll see you